So one of the things that I wanted to try out was PowerPoint presentation. Because one of the things that I wanted to do when I was teaching 180 students was, okay, now that we're not doing a poetry workshop anymore, instead we're doing a lecture, and in many ways it resembles a reading. So in what ways can my lectures learn from my readings? The ways that I like to do readings, or the ways that other people do readings really well. And I thought, and like now has come the time for reckoning. What can my readings learn from my lectures? So that's the experiment. And I figured that if I don't feel nervous about it, then I'm not risking anything. So suffice it to say that this is very new, and we'll see what happens. Okay. So this is the cover of the new book. And one of the things that I think is I wanted to do what I wanted to do with this new book was I wanted to have all sorts of material that I had gleaned from elsewhere. Because one of the things that I'm really interested in is an idea of being able to get all these fragments of culture and in that way try and diagnose what might be the subconscious of culture. So each of the poems being little apertures perhaps into some sort of cultural subconscious. So with that in mind, yes. Let's get that arrow out there.
Words. You can't read it.
Oh.
I'm blind. I can't
We'll just pretend it's graphical at this point,
All right.
as opposed to like. Okay, 96 scraps. Now imagine there's a stage, and there's a big hole in the middle of the stage, and inside it is a gravedigger. And the gravedigger is busy enumerating these points, and he says, "I enjoy leftovers. Before a bored but friendly audience, I ask over a floor of torn papers to join me in a life of thought. The present, whatever I grasp today, depends on these scraps that I made yesterday." And here he starts opening drawers, and he closes them, and he opens up his briefcase. And he says, "A few folders. What fits in a folder? Some index cards to copy eventually. There's a floor plan around here, I'll come back to it. Problem is, all this feels outdated. One great big..." Now I can't read it either. Anyway, one great big relic. Some we can't do without. All I see in these material surfaces are anonymous friends. Don't we have databases for all this now? Grids? The Oxford English Dictionary, in its elegiac mood, tells me that archives come from the adjective, archive, the adverb in late Latin, archivum, and the Greek for a magisterial residence or a public office. So in one sense, it's a place for public records. On the other, important documents. In another sense, it's a historical record or documents that are so preserved. Now, the town hall, the ruling office, order within, anarchy without. Precision, order, objectivity, completeness. I filed away things by interest. Things, of course, were left out. Where's the passion in the office? What order comes from this passion? Books, 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 books. And yet, for everything that matters is to be found in the card box of the researcher who wrote it. I think that was Benjamin. Here's one, Chirologia, 1644, and the subtitle, or the natural language of the hand. Chironomia, or the art of manual rhetoric. I think about these models for these engravings, damp hand's breadth. Now what about the blanks? The cramps, the uniforms. In these scraps, I feel at home. I remain. I'm at home where I'm missing. And these scraps, they talk to each other. Not just to you or me, but to each other. And meanwhile, the gravedigger starts pushing them all into a pile in the center of the stage. Now, what is most central? Mischievous surfaces. Leafing through these reminds me of the intervals. They may as well be interleaves, you know, those misty pages between the words and the pictures. Tangible tissues, like a ghost looking through a sheet. And meanwhile, he picks up one of the scraps and he holds it up to the light. And he says, I wrote this one years ago. Literary form, but it got tired. Whatever tied us to the world was the point. Whatever outlined that was the poem. Now check this out. A scrap from a letter written over 75 years ago from Benjamin to his friend Gershom Scholem. One fine day in late May. Roots in my heart and its leaves in your archive. All around the definition are illustrations of gleaners, like Millet's peasant women scavenging after a harvest. Potatoes rejected today outside Lyon, apples in Provence, garbage in the Paris market. Endless trucks carry the uncastaways to another time. What a mess this is, this reservoir, one great opinion. It's slow work gathering some outline. Such gentle, you start gently, but then it's so exhausting. Scholars would have a better time at this. Don't they rearrange things and transcribe things exactly? Meanwhile, my outline. Whatever my fate is, this must be it. Whatever this is, I give it to you for safekeeping. But in your heart, you can't keep it safe. You can't help but keep it in your present. Now, where was I? Oh, this is my Twitter address. How's that for dorky? I think one of the things that I really dig about Twitter is that I can mine it for found poems. Like, you know how this says constant like that? So here I am. I punch in constant change into my Twitter feed, or my Twitter search. And you have, for example, someone who says, sorry for the constant name change, but you get called so many things that I have to change it. Winking smiley face. Okay. And this is a retweet. Become only a student of change. It is the only thing that will remain constant. Okay. Here's another retweet. Change is the only thing that's constant in this life. Oh. Palahniuk quotes, as in Chuck Palahniuk. Chuck Palahniuk has a Twitter feed, apparently. Okay, since change is constant, you wonder if people crave death because it is the only way they can really get anything finished. And then in parentheses, he says survivor, whatever that means.